Hey everybody, thank you for stopping in and seeing what I'm up to. Well guys, what I'm up to is I'm back on these GT40 P heads, and they're a long time coming. I started these months ago and got sidetracked, and it's one of them deals. I had them where I thought I was going to be finished with them, and they're going to a special person, so I seen a couple more places I wanted to take care of a few things on it. And it's all time consuming stuff. So I cut this back more around the guide. And you can see I got a pretty straight run back there. Pretty good crossover. And that's where these pinch off at, guys. GT40 heads. They're very small up in here. So these are the areas that's more crucial than doing this. The areas in the bowl, like I keep telling you fellas, is more crucial than the port. But you get different opinions with these heads, fellas. Some people say they're real critical and technical. I look at it this way. It's just a head. It's like anything else. It's just a piece of cast iron with a port, and you just have to modify them the best way you can. Just like the exhaust port right here. I angled it back, and I don't know if you can see or not. Let me turn this head a little bit better. I angled it back quite a bit. It's a pretty deep pocket, and I'm getting a misconception here. This looks like it goes out. This actually goes in. So it's actually a nice bowl. It's pretty flat here, but it looks like it goes beveled in like that, and it doesn't, guys. That's just where the light's hitting it. At least that's how it looks live. If I play it back, it might not look like that. But when you're doing these segments, it's never the same. The lighting is always the problem. And then what I did here on the port, filled the floor in and raised the roof. So like I said, these are going to a special person, and he's like a son to me. And I wasn't going to do the segment till they were completely finished and surprise him with them, but he's probably getting tired of seeing them halfway done. They're almost finished, Mick. So these are yours, buddy. You called me the other night and said, "What are you doing, Pop?" This is what I was doing. And I thought I'd have them done by now, but I've had some situations happen that kept me from finishing them up. And believe it or not, guys, just cutting these guides back like I'm doing is time consuming. Because I don't use anything to really just cut something down real fast. I gnaw at this, and I try to keep the shape while I'm doing it, and that's just how I do stuff. But anyway, I got on YouTube the other night, and there's a guy on there live, and he does all this GT40 stuff. So I said, let me check him out. So I do just like you guys. I listen to him. He's live. Has people asking him questions about the heads. And he says there's a guy back in the day that used to cut these heads completely in half. And he found that it wasn't worth porting them. that GT40s and GT40P heads aren't worth porting. So the bad news is, Mickey, I might as well stop on these right now because this guy has 15,000 followers and he's been messing with Mustang for 20 years and GT40 heads and all the GT40 parts. He's pretty well known with it, and he must know a lot more than me because he had 15,000 people on his channel. So he must have a highly respected crowd there. So that's good for him. And it's always nice when your channel does well. But yeah, I might as well just stop on these right now because it's not worth doing these heads. These guys have to know more than I know. That's the only outcome I can get out of this, is when I hear these kind of guys talk, because they put on a good game on here. And he had people calling him in to ask about combinations, what cam, and everything else. But here's the good news, Mick. The good news is this. He gave a really good combination, and it was the GTP head like we have right here, and the popular, most beloved cam. That's probably what's called a B cam, because it's beloved, which I don't know why. We've used it, but it's one of them deals. I'll do another segment on that. And the guy asked him how fast he can go with that setup, with the ported heads that he already had, the P heads, and a B cam. And he says, well, definitely. If I remember right, and I know I am remembering this right because it really aggravated me. He said, you will have no problem running 13/8, but don't expect to go any faster than that with that setup. So, Mickey, that's the good news. You can expect to go at least 13/80s with this. I hope you're happy with that after I put hours and hours and hours in on this, because I don't know what to think. But wait a second, we have a problem. I just thought of something, Mickey. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. Maybe I shouldn't bother finishing these heads up at all, because I just thought about it. Your car is completely stock with the E7 heads, and it's already been low 12s. So how's this going to work out in your best interest? I'm confused now. Now I'm really confused about this, because if you put a P head on, you're supposed to pick up. It shouldn't go slower than an E7 head. I've never heard such nonsense in my life. Mickey, these are yours. I'm kind of playing around, but get ready to go a second faster, just like we talked about. I think your car, if you get the right combination, the right cam in it, and a few things we've talked about, you should be real low 11s. And if you can get around where we can get together, I think the car will go 10s on motor with these heads. And depending what else we change up on it. But unless you want to put a B cam in it, or one of the alphabet cams, that's up to you. I can hear you laughing, son. I can hear you laughing all the way to here. So, guys, I don't know where these people come up with this stuff. I'm really kind of aggravated seeing people that have no way of knowing different. And they ask us guys that's been out there for years to pick out a combination. And we're throwing the almighty B cam at them still. The only reason them cams were popular, a B cam, any of the alphabet cams, is because of one reason. I call the B cam a B cam, and it stands for better than nothing. So that's the way I look at it. Now, we've gone 10s with that cam, my friend in his car, and you'll say, well, you went 10s with it. Well, here's the problem, fellas. It would have went 10s with the stock cam. So that's where I come off when I tell you guys something. It's because of that reason. It's because we've used the combination, and if we get a good number out of something, it's not because of one thing. It's because of a lot of things. And we work around something that's pathetic, like a Ford Alphabet cam. Just like we're doing right now. We have a car right now, our buddy does, and it has an Alphabet cam in it. And it's because it's degreed and different and everything. I'll tell you one of our things what we do. And that's because the cam is in with a lot of hours in it, finding out where the best position was for that cam when we degreed it in. But here, guys, I want to show you this. On here, it doesn't look quite as rounded in. But even these ports, I rounded them all in. The floor always goes rounded in into the sidewall. The roof always comes rounded in into the sidewall, no matter how I do it. I believe in shape, fellas. I believe in getting that air to be on an oval concept instead of just going flat in, and then it kind of wanders around and builds turbulence. I think this helps. That's my own opinion. Everything I give you is opinion on here, fellas. It's my opinion. But most of the time, it's because I know it works, not because it's just something I came up with. But I don't ever want to pick on anybody's channel, because the guy also had good ideas and some good things. But then they dynoed one of the motors that he did, and putting the P-heads and some cam he had in it, it made like 240 horsepower. So I don't understand that either. And people would never believe what we've made with a completely stock engine, just with the intake that we picked out and the carb tuned a certain way. And I'll put it to you this way. It made the same horsepower as one of the Ford reproduction engines that you can buy that's upgraded. So we took a stock 302 and made the same power as one of them engines that you pay, well, I think they're like $4,000 for, and made the same power out of it. I don't want to say the wrong numbers. That's why I'm hesitant to really push that out there like that. But it was something to be proud of, because here's the car we had it in. And it went 1209, I think, something like that, in that car right there. So there's the proof. And I'll always have proof when I tell you guys something. And like I told you before, that car has a stock engine right here, completely stock, running in the 11s right there in that picture. I showed you that before, I think. But the reason it's important for me to back this stuff up is because you have too many guys out there saying things and making claims. And I'm not one of them guys. Anybody wants to ever back me into a corner like I've had happen lately, I can always prove what I said. And here's one thing, fellas, people don't think about. When I had a few people jump on me a while back, excuse me, fellas, they don't understand this. I have friends that are on this channel and that know what I say. What's the most embarrassing thing you could do is to say something that's not true. Your friends will tear you up more than somebody that doesn't know you if you make false claims. So I just wanted to put that out there because I've had a few guys that really, it's not a difference of opinion thing, it's where they're attacking me. And I just wanted to put that out there while I'm doing this segment because this is kind of a controversial thing that I'm talking about here. But I just thought I would bring that out in the open because I was actually going to do a segment about it, but I'll just do a little bit of, well, I don't want to call anybody out or any names, but I will say this. They know they know who they are. Anytime they want to really put their car up next to one of our cars, they're more than welcome to. And you know who you are. And if things keep up, I will call you out by name. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So I don't want to be mean. But another thing I wanted to bring up, fellas, was this. Getting back to these heads, the guy cuts them in half. All the flow numbers, never saw the flow numbers change with any of the improvements he made. My point is this. Where are their cars? Where are their cars? I always hear about all this flow number, all this dyno testing. Where are their cars? Well, I'll tell you where their cars are at. They're probably hiding because they don't want people to see how fast they go. That's my opinion. Most cases, most guys that say this kind of stuff, that make these kind of statements, I've seen where it seems like the more they say things, the more they've never been to the track in a lot of cases. Because the guys that really know stuff, they don't really say much. And half the guys that do know want to keep things to themselves. So I just thought I'd put that out there, fellas. You know, I don't understand why somebody wants to tell 15,000 people that putting these heads on is not worth it. And then he goes into detail saying that he had a pair of the Freedom heads. If you want to go with them, that he had them heads, and he went 9 seconds with them with a power adder. Well, that car has been 9 seconds with a 150 shot. It was actually a 130 shot, but we'll say 150. And then I had people in there saying, oh, you're blasting that with a 300 shot. Has anybody ever saw a 302 blasted with a 300 shot? What happens to them? They split in half. That's another thing. This motor's still running. That's in this car. It's in my coupe. It's been around for 6 years. Before that was in our friend's car for 2 years or 3 years. And before that, who knows? So, it's not the idea that that engine even went 10s on motor and 9s on nitrous. It's the idea that it's still running. That's the most impressive thing about it, that it's still running. So, people need to take that into consideration. And here's another thing, fellas. Anybody wants to say we're juicing this car hard? Figure it out. It goes 1070s on motor, 990 on spray. If it's low compression, like it is, it's a stock 302 with a cam, factory block, factory internals, 50-ounce balancer, the whole 9 yards. No tricks done to the lifters, no rods lightening up, no nothing. It's a stock engine just like you pull out of a factory car. That's my point, fellas. I hope somebody's getting what I'm saying. Because these guys, the reason they're giving me such a hard time, they don't believe what we're really doing here. But you know who believes it? Guys that have done the same thing. There's guys out there that's done the same thing. Maybe push the motor a little harder than what we're doing to do the same. But it's just one of them deals where you have to just do combinations. That's the only difference between our stuff and somebody else's. And that's why I did this channel. That's why I wanted to make sure when I got on here that I might even tell somebody the right combination to do to their car so they don't waste money. Because you just don't pop injectors in without spending a few $100s here and there, changing them back and forth. You just don't change the intake, especially if it's fuel injected, unless you find one used. They were $50 to $100 before used. Now you're going to pay almost the same used as you do new. And what's wrong with that, excuse me guys, what's wrong with that is that they're not $200 anymore. They're $300 to $500. Depending what one you get. Some of them are $700 if you really want to get fancy with things and think you're buying the best thing out there. So that's what I try to do, guys. I try to help make the right decisions. And I'm actually going to do a segment and put combinations out there. If you want to go 11s or go 12s, I'm going to put the combinations out there in a different segment. And if you guys need to see anything with a combination you're trying to wonder how fast it would go, chances are I can get real close to it, or we've already had that combo. We've ran almost every intake you could think of, the RPM, air gap, the torquer, 289 torquer, anything you guys could think of, we probably have had it. Victor Jr. and things like that. So it's just one of the deals. I want to make sure you guys get the best instead of trying to experiment and making mistakes along the way, thinking you did something good instead of throwing something like this on and thinking that you have the best intake on there because you've seen an ad somewhere where it said it made more power than the Victor. And then you're like, wow, I'm going to throw that on and I'm going to get this cam. And you're kind of taking a stab at it. Well, I never like copying off anybody, but I'll tell you, the way prices are today, if somebody can tell you something that works, sometimes it's better to do that than to spend all the money and be sorry that you had to think you had to do it yourself and didn't want nobody's input. So, because I was that way, I still am that way. I'd rather try to think of our own stuff instead of trying to run with something that we know somebody else has. So, but anyway, fellas, I hope this is something that you can take and get something out of. And who knows, there might be somebody say, oh, that guy's right, they don't pick up porting them. There might be one or two people out there think that. And like I said, it's not the porting, it's getting these areas opened up. That's the most important thing. But here's the thing, I lost my train of thought, fellas. If you do open these up, that air can still move better. And somebody would say, yeah, but you're slowing it down. That's right. Where you don't have to change the angle on the seat. I'm not going to get into that too heavy. They're my theories on things, but I keep some things to myself, guys. I have my own theories, and if I put it out there, then you kind of get feedback sometimes. I'm not here to debate my channel. I'm here to tell what I know works. And if it don't work for somebody else, that's fine. If they've tried things and say, oh, I did that and it doesn't work, that's okay. But it works for us. And that's all I try to do is put something out there that I know is true. So I hope I didn't babble too much, guys. I usually do. And if I did, I'm sorry. But guys, for me to do this kind of segment, all I'm doing, once again, it's not about putting somebody else down on another channel. it's about knowing that somebody's going to make a mistake listening to somebody that they look up to. That's the only reason I did this. I had to actually do this segment twice because I didn't want to sound like I'm beating up on somebody, and it kind of did on the other ones, so I just put the other 2 segments in the trash, and it was just hanging over my head tonight. I thought, I always feel like I have to protect people. That's my problem. If I don't say something, then somebody's not going to know the difference. Or at least if they think that guy's right, or say, well, that's the combination I got, and there's nothing wrong with it, well, that's okay. But if I can put my 2 cents in, and then somebody say, well, wait a minute, I was going to buy that cam, but this guy's saying that this camshaft will go 11s, and that's what I want to do, is go 11s, and he's going 11s with them heads, so why can't I? Well, that's the whole idea behind this, fellas. And like I said, it's all about trying to just put things out there. And like I said, we have different opinions sometimes, but I'll get back to one of my sayings. We can all learn from each other and take information from each other, and then what we do with it is up to us. So I'll leave it at that, fellas. And I hope you all have a good night. And I do want to thank all the new subscribers. Guys, I appreciate you checking me out. And one more time, guys, the ones that's been with me, I appreciate it, fellas. So I want to take the time to always say that. All right, thanks again, fellas. Have a good night.